You're asleep, totally unconscious, drooling on your pillow, most likely snoring and utterly unaware of your surroundings. By all biological standards, you are powerless. Imagine now that you are not in your bedroom. You're in a tent made of an embarrassingly thin piece of fabric that keeps you safe from a forest full of creatures that could kill you if they so desired. Animals that can smell you from a mile away, hear your heartbeat from across a clearing, and see clearly in the dark when you're just resting there with your eyes closed include lions, bears, wolves, and leopards. Nevertheless, you consistently wake up in the morning. Why? Really, give this some thought. A human being who is sleeping is just meat. Meat should be slow, silent meat. Meat that is incapable of running, fighting back, or even realizing what is occurring until it has already happened. Predators aren't swarming campsites like an all-you-can-eat buffet, unlike what you would believe. They hardly ever are. And there are several reasons why they aren't. There's never just one thing. Each of the many layers of explanations is more intriguing than the previous one. When taken as a whole, they depict an odd, imperceptible accord between people and the wild. An accord that extends beyond agriculture, civilization, and what we typically consider to be human history. This is profound. Come on, let's start with what seems like an ego trip, but is really simple biology. You are scary, not you in particular. You're probably okay, normal, and not too scared as you read or watch this right now. However, predators find humans to be a very terrifying species in terms of evolution. Not in a way that is evident from the way we look. We lack claws. We're not quick. For our stature, we're not that powerful. Even in the dark, our vision is poor. As animals, we're kind of a catastrophe on paper. However, a 2019 study by UC Santa Cruz researchers discovered something amazing. In the Santa Cruz Mountains of California, they played recordings of human voices in close proximity to mountain lions, sometimes known as pumas or cougars. Ordinary human voices, folks merely conversing. The pumas then ran away. They ran away just as quickly as they did when they heard dogs barking, and frequently even more quickly. These creatures can easily take down mature deer. Creatures capable of hauling a dead animal up a steep hill. Animals whose predatory efficiency is objectively absolute. They fled after hearing a podcast. That was not an isolated incident. Pumas abandoned food, according to the same study. They were eating food they had already killed when they heard human voices close by. They moved away from the noise, leaving their food on the ground. That is a huge expense in terms of survival. In essence, a predator is working for free when they give up a kill. There is no replenishment of the calories burned to make that kill. They continued to do this because the discomfort of being close to others outweighed the expense of starvation. That outcome validated a long-standing observation made by biologists across several continents and species. In the Kruger National Park in Africa, lions roam less when there is more human activity. In India, tigers give birth widely to villages even when such villages are located in ideal habitat. In order to avoid areas where people are frequently present, jaguars in the Amazon have modified their migratory habits. These animals are not biologically incapable of attacking. Over thousands of generations, these creatures have come to the conclusion that it is not worthwhile for them to live close to humans. One of the harshest facts in natural history explains why. We have essentially altered the genetic makeup of large predators because we have been hunting and killing them for so long and so successfully. Consider the extent of that. For around 2 million years, humans have been aggressive predators. We eradicated mammoths through hunting. We eradicated megafauna from whole continents. Cave bears, saber-toothed cats, woolly rhinos, giant sloths, and other creatures that had endured cold ages all disappeared thousands of years after humans entered their habitats. We nearly wiped off wolves in North America by hunting them throughout the whole continent. We eradicated mountain lions from the continent's eastern half. The predators that are still alive today are descended from the animals that were the most cautious around us because we shot, trapped, and poisoned them so methodically and for so long. That isn't a metaphor. Natural selection is responsible for that. Lions that dared to approach human camps were killed. Wolves were chased down for preying on human communities. Predators that maintained their distance and viewed humans as objects to be avoided rather than interacted with managed to live. They multiplied. They instilled that inherent caution in their children. That caution evolved into a biological one over thousands of years and generations. It developed into instinct. Today, it has become the standard behavior of all large predators that coexist alongside humans. Thus, a very old alert goes out somewhere deep in a leopard's neural system when it detects your scent at night. Not precisely a thought. The ancient wired-in inherited signal that says, be careful around that thing. Don't engage. Move on. Has been passed down from every ancestor of that leopard that survived a close encounter with people, rather than the leopard sitting there thoughtfully contemplating human history. It is a deep-rooted biological memory. Let's now discuss your odor. Because you're always surrounded by others and have fully accepted your scent, you've probably never given it any thought. However, you are sending out a massive, intricate, and incredibly bizarre chemical signal to a predator whose nose is anywhere from 10 times to 100,000 times more sensitive than yours, depending on the species. It is thought that a bear's sense of smell is 7 times more powerful than a bloodhound's. Under the correct circumstances, wolves can detect scents from almost 2 miles away. The Jacobson's organ, a specialized organ in the roof of their mouths, allows big cats to taste the air and evaluate chemical information at a level that is hard for us to comprehend. These creatures are inundated with olfactory information when they come across a sleeping person. Furthermore, a large portion of the material is simply incorrect. You don't smell right. You have an odor similar to that of synthetic materials like polyester and nylon, as well as any chemicals employed during production. You smell like packaged food, the snacks in your bag, and the meal you had hours ago. You smell like sunscreen, insect repellent, soap, and shampoo. A mixture of synthetic substances that have no natural counterparts. You smell like a primate beneath all of that, beneath the layers of contemporary human existence, which is something, but it's not the thing. These predators have not developed over millions of years to recognize and hunt deer, wilder beasts, or rabbits. The hunting impulse of a predator is not universal. It's not a hazy one of murder moving objects. It's a precisely calibrated mechanism that targets particular prey. The way unulates move sets off a wolf's predatory reaction. The shape, speed, and scent of the creatures a lion has hunted thousands of times trigger its striking mechanism. The pattern doesn't fit you. The system does not include you. You are unique. And abnormalities make most predators cautious rather than hostile. One of the most underappreciated discoveries made by humans is the campfire effect. One of the few stimuli that almost all land animals react to with fear is fire. It is not a behavior that is learned. Animals don't learn this through experience. It comes naturally. It is really old. In the wild, animals that were fire-averse survived wildfires by fleeing. Animals that have no fear of fire did not. Animals raised in laboratories who have never been near fire will exhibit avoidance behavior when they smell smoke because the fear is so ingrained. It delves so far into the evolutionary code. Between 1 and 2 million years ago, humans made the discovery of fire. And sleeping by a fire has been the norm for the most of that time. We weren't just cooking or keeping warm. Because it acts as a repellent, we may have been doing it without realizing it. You can do more with a campfire than just stay warm. It sends out a warning that something harmful is nearby into the surrounding darkness. Anything that controls fire is something to stay away from. That message reached the predators. Additionally, they have been receiving it for so long that decoding the message is no longer necessary. It simply causes avoidance on its own. You discovered that before you discovered farming, ceramics, writing, or architecture. Start with fire. Honestly, that was a smart move. Movies have been misrepresenting predators for decades, so let's address the largest myth about them. Predators don't act carelessly. This is really crucial. It is a myth that the apex predator is an unstoppable, fearless killing machine that attacks everything in its path. Just fiction. Large predators actually have to be extremely cautious about what they interact with. A lion has no health insurance. There are no sick days for wolves. A single severe injury, such as a broken leg, deep bite wound, or injured eye, might result in a gradual starving death. Injuries don't mend at the vet in the wild. They either recover themselves while the animal still needs to hunt and eat, or they fail to heal and the animal perishes. This implies that every choice a predator makes regarding whether to interact with an object is a survival calculation. Does the danger of damage outweigh the caloric value of this target? Do I know enough about this prey item to predict its behavior? Does the likelihood of a successful hunt outweigh the energy expenditure? There are several ways in which a sleeping individual misses this calculation. Unfamiliarity comes first. Attacking familiar prey gives a predator the most confidence. It has observed the prey animal hundreds of times. It is aware of a zebra's gait, blind areas, and how it kicks in a panic. It has no idea how a human will react. People are incredibly erratic. We might scream when we wake up. We may have tools on hand. There may be other people in the vicinity who will react. We may flail in totally unanticipated ways. That degree of ambiguity is a huge warning sign for a predator attempting to reduce risk. The size issue comes in second. Standing erect, humans are actually fairly large. Compared to most prey animals of similar weight, we appear larger and more intimidating due to our height, upright stance, and bipedal gait. Bipedalism is a form of danger display in and of itself, according to researchers investigating predator-prey dynamics. When gorillas wish to intimidate, they stand up straight. When bears want to appear menacing, they do this. When a creature walks in that manner by default, it appears to be naturally pushy toward other animals. The human silhouette, even while sleeping, is peculiar in a way that does not suggest a simple meal. Thirdly, and perhaps most crucially, why even bother? Almost always, there are simpler choices. Prey is accessible to a predator with a healthy territory and a functioning ecology. It is familiar with the prey it can hunt, prey that matches its biological model. From a survival perspective, it makes no sense to pursue something unusual, unfamiliar, and possibly hazardous when there is a perfectly good impala or rabbit nearby. Risk-reward calculations simply don't add up. Another topic that hardly ever comes up in these discussions is this one. You're not sleeping as deeply as you believe. In fact, this is one of the more astounding aspects of human biology. We go through cycles of sleep. Deep slow-wave sleep descends upon you. After that, you enter lighter phases again, such as REM sleep, during which your brain is actually very active. Additionally, scientists have shown that your brain is still remarkably sensitive to your surroundings during those milder phases. External sounds continue to be processed. Compared to familiar sounds, unfamiliar sounds have a higher chance of entering consciousness. This is what scientists refer to as sleep's sentinel function. The theory is that humans and other animals keep a half eye on their surroundings even while they are sleeping. A twig snapping loudly nearby, the sound of a large animal moving through vegetation, a change in air pressure, and the smell that comes with something enormous approaching are just a few examples of how your brain is still sifting sensory data and highlighting things that look strange or dangerous during light sleep stages. These factors may cause you to wake up more quickly than you might anticipate. This is not a coincidence. Throughout our evolutionary past, those who slept too deeply and showed little reaction to challenges during the night were more likely to never wake up. The ones that survived and procreated were the lighter sleepers, those who could wake up in a matter of seconds. Human sleep has evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to remain light enough to react to danger. Compared to most large mammals, our sleep cycles are shorter and we sleep lighter. In part, because our evolutionary heritage believed that there would always be reasons to wake up from the shadows. Therefore, even though you feel totally powerless when you're unconscious, you're actually operating a rather advanced early warning system. Not flawless, not infallible, but there. The group factor comes next. When people camp, they are nearly never truly alone. We sleep and travel in groups, and those groups react as a whole. Because their prey animals also form groups, predators in the animal realm have a profound understanding of group dynamics. It is far safer for a wilder beast to be in the center of a herd than to be on its periphery. It is much more difficult to target a fish in the middle of a school than one that has been split up. Predators target more than simply their victims. Separation is what they seek. They search for the lone person who has fallen behind, the individual who has been excluded from the group. A group is a camp consisting of sleeping people. Not just any group, either. A group whose members are likely to wake up when one of them wakes up and makes noise. For a predator attempting to make a clean, low-risk kill, that collective reaction is extremely unappealing. Predators have evolved to avoid the possibility of a hunt going awry and devolving into a chaotic group defense scenario. Now, let's be honest, because if we weren't, this video would be reckless. You are not untouchable because of any of this. When attacks do occur, they do so in a predictable manner. They nearly always include situations that have deviated from the usual. An injured predator is unable to hunt its typical prey. A predator that is starving due to the destruction of its habitat and the loss of its typical food sources. A predator that has lost its innate fatigue due to excessive human contact. When animals are fed by visitors or learn to link human presence with food rather than danger, or a predator that is simply too old and desperate to capture the prey it once hunted, this happens frighteningly quickly. The most well-known example are the lions of Tsavo, Kenya. Over the course of 9 months in 1898, 2 male lions attacked and killed between 35 and 135 railway workers. The number is disputed in historical accounts, and the mythology increased as it was recounted. However, the fact that these were unique lions is sometimes overlooked. They were both Manalis, which is unusual. One had serious dental damage, which probably made it much more difficult to hunt its typical prey. These did not reflect the behavior of lions. They were exceptions brought upon by extraordinary events. The hunter Jim Corbett discovered that the Champawat tiger, which is thought to have killed 436 people in India and Nepal in the early 1900s, had previously been shot in the mouth, breaking 2 of its canine teeth. It was no longer able to successfully pursue its natural prey. It had been forced to hunt the only consistently available and physically manageable prey due to injuries and habitat encroachment. Nearly all recorded instances of large predator attacks on people while they are at rest or in camp follow the same pattern. Something broke. The standard computation was altered. Desperation overrode the inherited caution. This means that in situations when the ecosystem is intact, the predator is healthy, and people haven't done anything to interfere with the regular signals, such as leaving food out, approaching wildlife, or putting out the campfire because it didn't seem necessary. The rule applies virtually universally. The final layer of this is truly the most mind-bending element of the entire thing, so I left it for last. We've been so successful in instilling fear in the natural world that it's now creating unanticipated issues. The UC Santa Cruz study from 2019 accomplished more than merely show that pumas fear people. It showed how this anxiety spreads throughout the whole food chain in ways that are hard to completely control. Deer in human-populated regions are less vulnerable to predation when pumas stay away from those locations. In certain areas, the number of deer is growing. The number of deer has increased over grazing vegetation. In the meantime, medium-sized predators like foxes, coyotes, and bobcats become less prevalent around people, which causes the rodent populations that they typically regulate to begin growing. Everything changes, and it changes as a result of us. Due to our presence, the fear we have created over millennia acts as a signal that spreads throughout the ecosystem. By simply being present, we alter the behavior of every predator layer on the continent without ever coming into contact with the majority of those creatures. Simply by becoming what evolution warned them to be wary of. The entire living world is affected by a single species' inherited dread. The species that discovered fire before all other animals on Earth is the most dangerous. The one that has been influencing ecosystems not only by what it consumes, but also by what it instills fear in other organisms. The one whose DNA contains 10,000 generations of successful survival, travels in packs, and sleeps light. You are that. You are that. Therefore, it's okay the next time you're resting in a tent in the middle of nowhere, listening to the sounds of the darkness outside the nylon wall, and you feel that tiny pulse of old-fashioned dread. Your forefathers survived because of that emotion. However, the object outside the tent is not entering. It is more knowledgeable.